and 4-year-old leaders, we are preparing for October 28th. And this week we are talking about Isaac and Rebekah. Remember, we have started at the very beginning, talked about God's plan from the very beginning to find ways for us to have relationship with Him. And even when sin entered the world, He said at that moment that He had a plan and He was going to send someone as the rescuer to rescue us from that division that we were experiencing with God. And that provision is going to come from Abraham's family. So we started learning from that God's promise to Abraham is that his descendants would be as vast as the stars in the sky. We talked about Isaac and how Isaac was Abraham's son, born to them later in life, and that God asked for Abraham to take Isaac up to the mountain as a sacrifice, helping us understand that Jesus was going to be that sacrificial lamb, that God had a plan even from that moment. And so we're going to continue the lesson this week with God's promise to continue to build Abraham's family and helping Isaac find a wife, and her name is Rebekah. And it's really fun in our story today of how they found Rebekah. She happened to be taking camels to a feeding trough or to like a watering hole, and that's how Isaac picked his wife. Can you imagine just going out and seeing where the camels are drinking and saying, "That's my wife"? That may work for some of you. I can't imagine that working for my daughters. Anyway, so that's our lesson for today. In your small group times, you have a couple of things. First off, you have this activity called a social activity. This activity is supposed to be an activity done before you do all of your other activities as a way to help build relationships within your groups. Your social activity this series is called Upset the Farm, and what the kids are supposed to do is try to find their match. I don't know if you've read the book Are You My Mother? It's essentially the same idea, is that the kids are trying to build their families based on what animal group they're a part of. So you will do that so that you understand the whole idea for doing a social activity is a couple things. We first off want kids to get used to the idea of small groups, and in every small group setting there is almost always some kind of icebreaker, either a question or an activity or something fun to do. That's what breaks the ice so that people will begin to share with each other. So we're beginning to help set that background for the kids, but also to have a fun way to interact with you. We want kids to know that when they come to Parkway, when they come to be a part of our groups, that they're coming to be a part of relationship, that they're not coming because of a special toy in a room, or they're not coming because of how we built the room or whatever. Some families will choose to do that, but we really want kids to connect to a relationship more than we want them to connect to a room. So by doing that, by doing fun activities with kids, we are helping them build relationships with us. All right, so you will follow your schedule as you're used to doing, do your worship time, and then present the large group video. And you can use my notes that I shared with you ahead of time if that would help you as you're talking about the story. Then you will move into small group time. And in small group time, you will have a bag full of pipe cleaners. Each kid's going to get a few pipe cleaners. In the lesson, it says about 6 pipe cleaners. You could do 3 or 4. It doesn't have to be that many. And if you need to borrow some pipe cleaners from a different service so that you make sure you have enough, you're welcome to do that as well. There should be plenty there though. And what kids are going to do is bend those pipe cleaners to try to build a family. Pipe cleaners are really easy for kids to play with. I know when my kids were those ages, I would put pipe cleaners in our car, and that was a great way to spend some time. So I know that 3 and 4-year-olds can do this activity. Some of them may need a little extra help because they don't have the fine motor skills ready to do all of it, but encourage them to do it as best they can. just like their drawings. So they'll build their family, and then you can talk about how God was building Abraham's family a little at a time, and he had specific details laid out, even to the point of Rebecca being at a watering hole with camels so that Isaac could marry Rebecca. And then you have your memory verse activity. Remember, this is where we just do the motions for the memory verse. And so you have, if you belong to Christ, you're going to grasp your hands like this, like you're holding on to each other real well. If you belong to Christ, bend down into a little ball, and then you're going to start growing like you grow as a tree. Then you are Abraham's seed, like a tree, and heirs according to the promise. You'll point to God. Feel free to repeat that over and over again so the kids can learn those words. I realize those are big words. What we are doing is putting seeds in a child's memory and in their heart, so that on the day when they understand those words a little differently, they can call on them, because our brains at this stage are processing more words than sometimes we're able to express. Then you will pray and dismiss and send the pipe cleaner families home with each kid. I want you to know that if you felt like we are not providing activities for families to take home so they know what the lesson is, there are many resources out there available for every family to be a part of, so that they can see something in print for what we are teaching. We make a family resources packet that has an activity, has a synopsis of the lesson. It has the memory verse a part of it, and it also helps families know what we're teaching kids for every week of an entire series. All of it is posted on our Parkway app, our Parkway website. It is in print on our slat wall out in the children's ministry area. So if you feel like you would like to make sure that parents know that at the door, feel free to grab a few of those and pass them out as you are. And if I need to make more copies, I'll be happy to make more paper copies, but those are available. Our families are also receiving a monthly email with a link to all of that, as well as some written information to help families know what we're teaching. So while some weeks we're not sending home a paper that tells all of that, every family has access to all of those resources, and we really encourage families to start using those as a way to be the primary faith trainer in their families. Thank you so much for leading and for loving on kids. You are setting a stage for faith in a group of kids who we're seeing get baptized and celebrate big things together. Have a great week.